Martial Law Series, Chapter 2, The Long Road. It was 0600 as the sun peeked over the horizon. The group had been on the road for roughly 8 hours straight, other than to stop for a bathroom break. Logan got on the CB. "Lead vehicle, this is Pillbox. Do you got a copy, over?" Ted keyed his mic. "Roger, Pillbox, I read you." "Yeah, lead. Do you by chance have a spot for us to stop to camp, considering we did agree not to travel during daylight hours, over?" asked Logan. 10-4, Pillbox. It's coming up in 500 feet. Be advised to use as much road to pull in, advised Ted. "Roger that, Pillbox. Out," responded Logan. The convoy made a right onto a dirt road that went another mile before coming to a large, empty, dead-end logging yard that had been abandoned for some time. The foliage had grown just high enough to hide the tires on each trailer. Also bordering the clearing were trees just far enough apart to hide the semi-cab and both smaller pickups. After draping some camo net to hide the vehicles and trailers, the men set out to man their watch posts. The women, on the other hand, knew that no one had eaten since before they had left Maine, so they set up 2 propane cook stoves and started making a simple yet filling meal all could eat before getting some rest. There were 4 observation listening posts set up, each manned by one of the 4 males. Logan felt that at the age of 12, Harley was old enough to man one of the posts. They all had handheld Midland model GXT 1050 VP4 GRMS radios with earbud headsets, and each set to a private channel as to lessen the chance the transmission would be picked up. Harley, having the observation post closest to the women and other children, was OP Whiskey Delta. His father was OP November Delta. Jacob O'Grady was OP Sierra Delta, and Ted Roy was OP Echo Delta. Logan keyed his mic and said, "November Delta is in position and all is quiet. Radio check on all deltas, over." In a series came the other responses. "This is Sierra Delta, in position and it's quiet." "Echo Delta here, nothing to report." "Whiskey Delta here, nothing happening here, Dad. Copy that. All deltas go radio silent," commanded Logan. As the day progressed, Logan, having not seen or heard anything, decided that they all need to get some rest or else it would be a long travel that night. "November Delta to all Oscar Papas. Let's head back to Charlie Actual," instructed Logan. "Roger that," came back 3 responses. So as not to walk through the open clearing and bring attention, each made their way back to the vehicles through the woods. Once at their destination, they all had a meal of oatmeal, coffee, and dry toast. Before dozing off, the 3 men turned on the radio in the semi to hear any news. As figured, the media had blacked out any further info as to the situation at hand. As far as the 3 men and their group were concerned, the call for martial law was in effect at that moment. 5 hours had gone by as everyone had a chance to rest. It was now 17:30 and everyone was prepared to head out. It was now near dark. The semi-cab and trailers were hooked back up to one another, all vehicles checked over. The only thing that was different was that now they would have to be traveling after said curfew, and the authorities would be watching for them. As the convoy rolled back onto the blacktop, Logan gunned the throttle and gave it its gears. The Cummins power plant roared with delight. From here on out, there would be a CB radio silence until they reached Pennsylvania, the first of the Secession states. The plan was to get to I-91 and travel south until they met up with I-84, which would get them to the New York-Pennsylvania state lines. 20 minutes of driving at 50 miles per hour got them to St. Johnsbury, Vermont. Other than a few stray animals, all was quiet. They turned from Route 5 onto the Interstate 91 south and continued on. Another 35 minutes had gone by, and Logan's instincts were going off like a klaxon in his head. Having deployed twice to Iraq and once to Afghanistan, he knew this silence wasn't right or natural. "Joanne, give the emergency stop signal over the radio," Logan asked in a calm voice. Joanne reached up to the Cobra Model 29 and keyed up the mic in 3 quick 10-second bursts. All 3 vehicles came to a safe, controlled stop on the 2-lane, one-way. Before dismounting from their vehicles, which were still running, each driver killed all exterior lighting on their vehicles. "What's up?" asked Ted. "I think we may be under surveillance of sorts. It's too quiet," replied Logan. "Listen up. All vehicles are to run with drivers wearing night vision gear and blackout lights. Ted, have Candace arm herself with her Mini 30 rifle and gear up," insisted Logan. "Roger," replied Ted. "Jacob, have Lisa get her Car 15 and gear up as well," said Logan. "Aye," replied Jacob. "I got the 4 cans of Betamax for the turrets on the truck already in the cab, and Joanne will be running the remote control on those turrets. Now remember, 35 miles per hour with a 5-second gap between each vehicle," instructed Logan. After gearing up, the 3 vehicles proceeded on their way. What started as a 1-hour and 45-minute trip to Deerfield, Massachusetts became a 3-hour one. 50 minutes had passed since they had stopped. Logan was starting to think that maybe he had overreacted, yet another part was screaming, "Don't let your guard down." Just as his attention was about to drift off elsewhere, the silence of night was pierced by the sounds and hail of gunfire. Out of a highway maintenance vehicle spot came 2 SUVs. The improvised armor that had made up the cab of the semi had stopped the bullets from getting to them. Each SUV had 5 occupants: a driver, a front passenger armed with an MP5 submachine gun, 2 rear passengers facing forward armed with M4 carbines, and a rear-facing passenger in the cargo area armed with an unknown weapon as the windows were tinted. Having seen the shower of sparks, Candace opened the camper rear window and fired out through it with her weapon at the nearest SUV. Each round of 124 grain 7.62 by 39mm ripped at the front of the SUV. Soon steam could be seen coming out from under its hood, but the enemy continued to push the damaged vehicle. After emptying 3 30-round magazines into the SUV, it was forced to give up the chase. Jacob swapped lanes to engage the second SUV. Just as he got into the 6 o'clock of the second SUV, the rear hatch popped open to reveal the 5th man's weapon. "Oh crap!" Jacob exclaimed as he yanked on the Suburban's steering wheel to avoid the rain of fire that was meant for him. Luckily, the 1,000 rounds of 7.62 by 51mm NATO had only managed to shred the Suburban's driver's side mirror. Lisa keyed up the mic. "Chase to Pillbox." Joanne replied back, "This is Pillbox. Go ahead, Chase." "Yeah, Pillbox, you're not going to believe this, but they got a damn minigun in the back of them SUVs. We just managed to evade getting shredded," exclaimed Lisa. Just then there was another mechanical brrr, and then a bunch of radio static. The end of Chapter 2.